Alright, good day everybody. It's Colin here again. Been a while I did a video because I've been a little bit distracted, not busy. Alright, so today I want to talk us through a to-do app I built. Just go ahead and let me show you how I use some common React hooks to do this to-do app. While I talk, why don't I just load my to-do app to screen? Right, that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, so I'm using a Vite app, so I'm starting it with npm run dev. Yeah, so this is simple to-do app we did, and there are some little things I added to this to make it a little bit more than just a simple to-do app, right? So what I did was I added something here, to a counter here, to tell us how many to-do items we have in our to-do list, and also I added how many items we have completed in our to-do list, and then how many we have pending, right? So why don't I just go ahead and put in something into our to-do list, right? So let's say today we will learn about React, and then yeah, that's a good to-do. So today we learn about React. So what we have here is when we add in a new to-do, we have a check input. So when we check it will change from pending to completed, and then we will have, this is for deleting it. I didn't put an icon there. Let's use this as a delete button. Yeah, so if I click this, it will say completed, and then the color will change to this dark, I don't know what color this is, whatever color it is, and then it say completed, right? And if I unclick it, it remains pending. Let's add some more to-dos. So 10 in total, right? We have 10 to-do lists. So tomorrow or today, let's say this is today we will learn about React, and then we actually learn about React today. So let's say this is completed, right? So this changes to completed, right? Then so we have 10 in total, 1 complete and 9 pending. Let's fast forward till tomorrow, and then tomorrow we'll read about use context hook, and then tomorrow comes, we read about use context hook, and we click it, check. So we have 10 in total, 2 complete, 8 pending, 2 completed. So we have it like this, right? And then tomorrow also I will complete my profile page, and tomorrow comes, I complete my profile page. Yeah, I tick that. I'm so sorry about the background noise you hear. I just had to quickly do this in this environment, so I hope my voice will be clearer for you to hear. Yeah, so this is, yeah, we shouldn't get to Friday. Let's leave Friday's work pending. Yeah, so we have 10 in total, 3 complete and 7 pending. So we are done. Let's move to Friday. Why do we still need to keep these ones we have completed in our to-do list? So let's delete them, right? So we delete that first one, and then we delete all of them. Now we have 7 now in total, and 0 of them are complete and 7 are pending. So today is Friday, we need to go swimming. So this is just our to-do app. One thing we have not added is to make it what's the word, persist. So if you refresh our page, it all goes away. So that's quite easy to do, but I'm not going to go into that today. So what I want to show us is how we have gone about this. So I would open up my VS. Yeah, so we have just 2 components, the app component and the card component. And the card component is what is displaying this place here. I know, I think all this is what's displaying the card component, all this second part here. Then this input part is part of the app component. So we are bringing in the card component into that component as a child. So this is my man over here, or our man, because we're working together with it. So let's look at what we have inside the app component first of all before we move to the card. So quite simple, we import the card from the card. So we didn't use useState here in the app component, so let's leave that. So we are making use of useRef, useReducers, and useEffect. So we are using useReducer here as to manage our state, right? We could use state to do it as useState, but we prefer to use the useReducer here. I think this is what I was trying to teach while I made this to-do applications, right? So I'll walk us through it. Before we look at this reducer function we have here and this other man we have here, let's go into our main application, which is app. This is all we have in our app, right? So this is the useReducer snippet, right? What we do here is we take useReducer, which is a React hook, and then we pass in two parameters. It takes into arguments. It takes in the reducer, which is a function that we can use to do any of our actions, we want to do with our reducer, and then we take in an initial state. This can be an empty array or any kind of data type you want to use. And just to put this out there, it's not going to be nice for you to use useReducer to manage state when you're just using working with little states like maybe a counter app or a stopwatch or stuff like that. It's better to use useReducer when you're working with larger data like what we have in our to-do application. So this initial state is just this man we have over here, which is an empty array. Like I said, if we just put in an empty array here, it changes nothing. I just wanted to keep this here. And now we destructure what we are returning from the useReducer function, and it will return a to-do, which will be looking at this initial state. So this to-do we can use in application to represent this initial state, right? And then this dispatch is what is going to be making use of this reducer function. So whenever I want to call any function or any kind of action inside our reducer function, we use this dispatch action here, right? So what else do we have here? So this is using a useRef React hook we have only one input in this application, so we just take that and passing it into the useRef React hook, and useRef returns an object that has a key called current, and then we can pass in anything into it as the value of that. So we have already done that, and we passed in the inputs, this whole input tag as the ref for our useRef. So this useRef is currently looking at this whole input tag here, right? So what we did here is that this currently this is an uncontrolled tag because we are collecting the value from this directly from the DOM, and we're not controlling it with our state. So for this application, it's no harm because it's very simple. All we need to do is just take what we are passing into this input, right? So how do we get the value from this input? So say input dot current value. So the input dot current, that which is what is returned by this useRef, which is this input, and then this input has a value property which you can get. So whenever I pass anything into our input here, it become a value which you can get from current, which is being passed into the current property. Okay, should we console log it? Let's leave that out. I think you can try that on your own. So this is just to explain what the code is doing, not really to teach you about these React hooks. So this is what it does, and that's for this line, right? Before I get to all this line, now what does this man here do? This is a function called add to do. What we are doing here is coming from this button here. So when we click this button, we want to add a to-do item into our to-do list. So inside of it, we are taking an action or a function called dispatch. Where is this dispatch coming from? This dispatch coming from over here, and what is this guy referencing? Is referencing this useReducer function. What is this useReducer function? So this useReducer function is this man we have defined over here. So now let's talk about this guy over here. So this useReducer function takes in two parameters, right? A to do, which is looking at the initial state of our useReducer, and actions that would define by types inside the function. So you can use your if else condition here to define the types here, but people prefer using switch and case, and I think it's nice. I prefer using it too. It's very good. So for the actions, we have to define the types, because we want to do a lot of actions with this reducer. We're not just doing one action. So if we're doing just one action, there will be no need to do a switch case, just passing whatever you want to do inside the reducer, and it will work fine for you. But now we are doing more than one function or more than one actions with our reducer, so this is why we're having a switch case. So we have action.type. Whenever we are calling our dispatch, we pass in a type property and give it a value. So this value creates, we are going to use it here. This is where we are defining it. So if the action type is create, what do you want this dispatch to do? This is exactly what we are saying here. So we are saying we want to create a new to-do list. So we take in the initial to-do, which was in the beginning it was empty, so we just take in the empty guy here. Mind you, as you go on, it's no longer going to be empty, so this is why this is here. As you continue adding, it's going to be having some items, so we're going to take in the initial items first of all before we add in the new things into our to-do list. So what are the things we want to add into our to-do list? As what would I call them now? Properties in the object. So we want to have an ID for the to-do list, because you are going to be mapping through them and displaying them in our React, and React usually likes us to have a unique key prop, and even if React doesn't like us to have it, you will need this ID to do some other actions like delete and the toggle. So you are going to get an ID, right? So what is this actions.payload.id? So you can see here this action.type is pointing at this action over here. This action takes in a type create. So this action.payload is inside this action, and this payload takes in an object, and this object has some values here. We have the ID and the title. So we want to get the ID here. What we are defining here is that the ID is going to be a to-do length here, and initially our to-do length will be empty, which is this 0, so it's going to be 0 initially, and then we want to add a value of 1 to it when we are creating the first item, right? So this is what we are doing here, and then consequently, once we keep adding, the next one is going to be a ID of 2. Now we have a title, and this title is going to be coming from the actions, the payload or title, and this is what we are going to pass into our input tag. Is it input tag? Yeah, input tag, or input over here in the application. Whatever I pass into our input here is going to be passed into that title to input the current value, okay, and then pass it into this place. And then we also need to check if the checkbox which are going to be putting in our card or to-do list is checked or not. So initially it's going to be false. We actually need this man over here so that we can know if our to-do has been checked completed or not checked completed, so we can use this value to do something. So that's just it for creating a to-do, and this works fine like we have demonstrated in the beginning. So what is this other man here? So okay, let's stop here and then look at what is beneath this add to do, which is this useEffect man over here. So I noticed that whenever I would type in something into my to-do list and add, it usually doesn't clear out my to-do, my input. So I just came here and said, okay, whenever I add in a new to-do, which is for this useEffect, that has this dependency of the to-do, so it's going to be watching this to-do whenever something enters or whenever it changes its state. We're going to pass in this effect, which is to set that input value to an empty string. So whenever I add in something, it's going to return it to an empty string like this. So this is what makes it empty over here. Yeah, so now the next thing here is just our JSX, which is really simple to understand. This is our input tag, which has been styled. I'm not going to go through the styling. I think styling is very what's the word, anybody can style however you want, right? So I shouldn't be telling you how to style, because you can style however you want. So I did not like adding styling to my tutorials or videos, but I think I'll add the link to my description, the link to this app in the description on my GitHub. So this is where all the styling is located in app.css. So you could go through all that, right? So let's skip that, and then this, we have a button inside the input folder, and then what we have next is this card. Now we are passing in props to the card. And what are these props we are passing to the card? So we are passing in this to-do array into the card so that the card can receive it and use the array to display the new to-dos that we're adding to our to-do list, right? And then we're passing this dispatch, this action, this function here into our card, so we can also use it over there. I think that's all for this card component. Very short and simple. While we'll come back and look at this other guys. So we can see that we have not used this toggle function here, this delete function here inside of this app component, but we are going to use it over at the card component. So that's why we have passed the dispatch into, sorry about that, passed our dispatch into our card component so that we can use these other guys. So let's quickly go to our card component and see what we have here. So I remove everything that we do not need for this video, so I'll just save that. Now what do we do? What are we using here? We're using importing React, and you're using useEffect, and also you're using useState. All right, so what are we using useState for? But before we come to useState, let's see that we have received the to-do prop from the app here, and we also received the dispatch prop from the app. And continuing from where we stopped at, we are now receiving the to-do array here, and we are using it to map through this and get our card. So whenever we have an item in our to-do list, we display this particular card, and then here we display the title of the card, and this is a conditional that says whenever the checked item.checked, which is the value that we added here, is true, because it's always going to be false when we create it. So if it is true, we'll say completed, but if it is default false, it's going to be saying pending. So we will need to be able to change that checked from true to false when we click on that checked item. So I'll tell us how we have successfully done that. And we have here the delete button. I used the div for the button because I just wanted to use the div for the button. Alright, so yeah, I would explain to us all that we have here. So let's just talk about, what do we talk about first? Okay, let's start from here. So this is this item over here, what you're doing here. Let's talk about that first. So this guy over here is taking the to-do length. Whenever you add a new to-do, you're going to take the length and say, and give us the value. So we have a 1 to do, and give us value here 1, right? And then we need to know how many has been completed, and this gives us that value. And this one, we need to know how many are pending, and this gives us this value. So we'll find out how to go about this one very soon. Now let's just check out how to make a to-do item completed or not. So this is what would do that for us. So our input tag will take in checked, and this changes completed from pending. And then what happens is, and you can see, oh, this one has changed to completed or complete. So what is causing this? What function is happening here? So this is taking the dispatch function type or dispatch action type of toggle, which I have defined in our app, and you're taking the payload of the ID of this particular item that we are clicking on, right? To the ID. So whenever we want to use it over there in our app, you see that we take action.type is toggle, and then action.payload.id is this value we are passing here. So let's go and look at it over there and see what they're doing with it. So the toggle function, how are we working with the toggle function? So we'll map through our array over again, and we'll look for the item in the array that has an ID that equals to the actions.payload.id. I'm baby crying. Okay, so action.payload.id, right? So this guy is going to take in an ID, and we already passed it into it from over here, payload.id, right? And then if it's equal to it, if we are clicking on the correct item and it has mapped through and it has found out that this ID is equal to the ID you have passed into it, what is it going to do? So it's going to spread out everything we have inside that object, and then it's going to now take the checked property and change it, because it's a boolean. You can see over here that check property is a boolean, which I've set here to false, right? And it's going to change it to the opposite of whatever it's there. So currently it's going to be false. When we click on that input tag, it's going to change it to true. And if you click on it again, since it's true, it's going to change it back to false. So that's why I would have this going from completed to pending whenever we click and unclick, right? So that's for that function. This is just I think I've done a video on how map.map works. You can check my channel for that. So this returns a new array, and then we are passing it into this to-do state, which is passed into this guy, and then sent into the card component again, and then the card is using it here to display, right? So for the color change, we see that inside our card we just did a style object here that checks if the item we checked is true, then you make it a dark green or lemon, whatever color that is. But if it's false, which is the way it usually is initially, then you have it as a white color. That's for this. I've done a video about this before. right? And we know how this works. So for the delete, it takes in an action, and the type is the delete action type. Then it takes in the payload of the ID, same way this toggle works. And then we do a filter method for that. So taking the to-do, filter through it. If you have an ID that is not looking like the ID you are passing through it, then we'll take the ID, take that item, and then pass it through a new array that will send back to the to-do. But if it is looking like it, then we wouldn't take it. And that's what the filter does. So that's simple, and everything is working. So now to get this, how many items are complete and how many are not complete, the ones we have here, I think that's just what I haven't explained yet. We just did a simple function here, and I just had to create a state so that I can get that value. So we look through the to-do array and filter also, and check the items that have their value, that check the value as true, and return them. So if the item that we are currently at while it's written has a check value of true, we take it. But if it doesn't have a check value of true, we discard it. Yes, so that's what this does. And then returns an array that we pass into this complete variable, and then we set this counter or this count to that array. So we take it and use it over here and say that count or length. We just get the length and display it here. So we click, now 1 is true, complete. And then why does this one change? What are we doing there? Because it's pending and now it's no longer pending. What happens there? So what we just did was take the actual to do array length and remove the count length, which means the ones that has a true value of the checked, and pass it and remove it from it. So what is this useEffect doing? So this useEffect is helping me to render these guys whenever I do this. So whenever I do this guy, that useEffect helps me to call that particular function. So whenever the to-do changes, whenever anything changes inside the to-do, like that checked value we are changing using this guy. So whenever we change this guy over here, this to-do is going to change. So when that to-do changes, this guy is going to call this complete check, and this complete check will run this and filter out and set this guy to whatever value you want to get here, and then use it, and then also we get this value. So that's basically all that we have in our application. That was a mouthful. I hope this has helped anybody who is new into React and is trying to find his or her way. I would share more videos in the future. What you could help me do is just subscribe to my channel, like the video, and share with your friends, and that would encourage me to make more videos on time. I also promise to make better quality videos in the future. That's because I just wanted to start off making my videos as soon as possible. I didn't want to give myself any of those excuses that I need to get the camera, I need to get a microphone, I need to get this and that before I start making my videos. That would be, for me, it would be procrastination. I know I can start making my videos without those things for now, but that doesn't mean I'll keep making videos the way I'm making videos now. I would definitely make my videos better in the future. Right, so for those who want to see this working again, let's just add some more to do. Let's just say new to do, and then I add this, and then we get the new to do, and we have another to do, and then we add this to it, and let's get everything complete and remove everything. yeah, so for those of you who want to know how to make this persist after we refresh and it still remains, that's quite easy to do. I think I should make that in the next video. Yeah, I think I should do it in the next video. But for now, this is all from me. Bye. See you in my next video.